So someone sent me a Brad Troemel video, and I haven't seen his stuff in a long time. As a matter of fact, like I think the last time I saw one of his videos, it annoyed me. It annoyed me enough to unfollow him. But let's watch the video.
The truth is, galleries don't give artists exhibition opportunities. Artists give galleries exhibition opportunities by letting them borrow their work for all the talk from galleries about how their roster is their family and we're all creative partners in this together. Artists are not partners in the business of a gallery. Even represented artists are treated as contingently unpaid interns, despite the fact that they create the actual work the gallery becomes known for. A real partnership between gallery and artist means sharing the cost of production. It means being regularly paid as an employee. It means some level of profit sharing across exhibitions. What the fuck does representation even mean absent any of these material things? How can we ever expect to end unpaid internships at galleries when the artists on the wall at the gallery aren't even guaranteed pay? Absent an actual material partnership, artists should at very least have the option to sell their work to the gallery up front instead of waiting for potential sales to come in later. After purchasing work from the artist, the gallery can then sell the inventory they own to collectors. This is how most retail spaces operate who haven't brainwashed their wholesalers into thinking they're part of the business. McDonald's doesn't pay cow farmers a fraction of every single Big Mac after they sell them. Guaranteed gallery pay makes a clear distinction in labor. It's the artist's job to create art, and it's the gallery's job to sell art. Why are artists paid according to a dealer's ability to sell? In a sales process, artists have nothing to do with. Artists are responsible for 100% of the creation of their work, but assume half the risk of selling the work in a process where they don't even have contact with the collectors. There's nothing artists can do to positively influence the outcome of a sale once their work has already been chosen for exhibition by the gallery. Once the artist has completed their work and the work's been selected to be in a show, the artist's job is over and they should be compensated for it. The finish line for the artist is the exhibition, not the sale. If the dealer deems the work good enough to be in the gallery, then it should be good enough for the dealer to actually invest in it as a retailer. We don't expect art handlers to be paid based on whether the work they install in the gallery sells or not, nor should we, because it's a separate job from sales with a separate set of responsibilities for completion. Now, I remember when I made a post about guaranteed pay, and the number one response I got was this. But Brad, if galleries know they have to pay artists up front, that'll make galleries more likely to exhibit easily sellable work, eliminating the chance for difficult artists to get exhibitions. My only response to this is to look the fuck around. Selling pretty nonsense is what galleries are already doing. The luxury gallery world we reside in now is already a culturally irrelevant wasteland of thoughtless abstractions, tabletop ceramics, and paintings by boomers who've been repeating themselves for 50 years. Go to any art fair. Take a walk through Chelsea. The luxury gallery world is already risk averse while still exploiting artists to exhibit for free. There is no difficult avant-garde utopia in galleries to protect. These galleries are businesses that will always choose to exhibit art they believe they can sell. And if you're willing to offer them your work for free with no financial guarantee, they'll gladly accept it because reserving the right to not pay you anything is financially advantageous to them as a business.
Okay, so he hasn't changed at all. Has he really been saying the same thing over and over again for the last, 5 years? I mean, he's got 100,000 followers. I think last time I saw him, he had maybe 10, like 100,000 followers. There's a lot of resentful artists out there, hey. Okay, so this bloke is making a living by telling artists what they want to hear, basically. That they are hard done by or whatever. But what really grinds my gears is not the lying. It's that he's directly contributing to perhaps the biggest problem in the art world, and that is artist egos. So hang on, I've made some notes. So first up, let me just say, I don't hate artists. Okay, based on what I'm going to say, and to any of his fans, I am an artist myself, also I have gone out of my way to familiarize myself firsthand with galleries and institutions and the various machinations that surround art, both commercial and otherwise. I'm also a gallery manager, so there's that. But I want this to be a balance between the artists and also what I know objectively about commercial art galleries and sales. I also want to help clarify some things that have apparently been clouded by Brad here. I feel that it's always good to face problems head on. And if there's any problem in the gallery system, then being pragmatic and professional is going to help you grow as an artist much more than complaining about it and hawking your Patreon, apparently. I also don't want to make videos like this, or that I feel I'm about to make, because what other people do is usually none of my business. But in this case, I genuinely don't like what he is doing. I think he's not only being dishonest about the gallery system in order to sell his Patreon to resentful artists who maybe want to have their ego stoked or whatever. I am not here to stroke your ego. I'm here to hopefully shine a light on what actually goes down in reality when it comes to art sales and exhibitions. Let's go. Artists give galleries exhibitions, not the other way around. I honestly wish this was the case, but we get hundreds of people seeking gallery representation. There's enough to unpack here for a whole other video, but honestly, now look, the artist in me wishes this was the case. That's, I guess, the appeal, right? But the reality is, if you are not represented by a gallery, you are probably going to be paying for exhibition space out of pocket. And you do that to build a career. Like, what's the first thing a consultant or a gallery or an institution or an art prize judge checks? Exhibition history. So I feel it's a two-way street. Institutions need artists, sure, but artists also need institutions. I think the worst mistake you could make is to think institutions need you. Like, are you going to walk into a gallery demanding a show because you so graciously giving them the opportunity for an exhibition? Like, are you really that deluded? Who takes this stuff seriously? I feel like his 100,000 disenfranchised artists probably watch this. Probably watch his videos maybe as a sort of a therapy service. Okay. Roster is their family. Artists are creative partners in the business of a gallery. So roster is what Americans call stable, right? I think stable artists. I have a feeling he is talking from the rather saccharine nature of American commercial gallerists, but I'm making assumptions. But honestly, from my personal experience as a gallery manager, artists are like family. They are like family. Like, the gallerist spends almost as much time with the artwork as the artist does. And like that alone makes the gallerist, gives the gallerist a familiarity and an appreciation of the work that makes you want to shout your artist names from the treetops. Like, check this out. This is really great work. As for the part about not being partners, artists get 60%, like straight up. Yeah, okay, there might be a 10% discount if the client buys a lot of art, or if it was sold through an advisor, but the artist still gets the lion's share. Okay. Artists create the work that the gallery becomes known for. I don't think galleries become known for anything other than how good the space looks in photos and maybe how good their wine is, honestly. Okay. Real partnership between gallery and artists means sharing the cost of production and being regularly paid as an employee. I agree, but okay, cost of production is a tough one. I've been in a situation where the cost of my artwork exceeded the 60% cut I would have gotten if I'd sold it. So the solution was that the work wasn't made available in the show. And honestly, I felt really bad about that. Like if the gallery could have accepted the high cost of materials, then we could have both made money. But because the gallery was unwilling to cover the production cost, at the end of the day, the concession was that basically I could sell it myself, which I did. Happy days. So it was in the exhibition and I sold it myself. But I have something else to say about sharing the cost of production. It already happens. It's in the gallery's best interest that their artists can afford good materials. And I know many cases where the gallery has given the artist money to buy materials. So it's not this impermeable wall that Brad is making it out to be. It really is a working relationship. Okay. Profit sharing across exhibitions. Profit sharing is just not going to happen, especially across exhibitions. Are you mad? Are you actually mad? And not even because the gallery doesn't want to. Like, honestly, a profit sharing situation would make running a gallery much simpler. It's not going to happen because that would require artists that are willing to share their profits with each other. Interns. Okay, interns. So interns and artists are very different and contribute very differently to a gallery. But I actually agree 100%. Interning is shitty. At the gallery, I guess we are suitably left-leaning / Australian / traditional, whatever. We don't actually do internships out of principle. I know that's maybe a rare example, but that's my personal creed. If you do work, you deserve to get paid. It's that simple. Work doesn't suddenly lose value just because of the person who is doing it. And if they, claim they don't have the budget or, have the budget restraints or whatever, I can guarantee you there is always someone who is better resourced to contribute to an institution than the young person or student or whatever, the intern, the typical people filling these intern roles. And interning for 6 months, like, come now. Like, spend 1 month in any role and you are fully trained. I'm sorry. Like, any longer than that and you are not interning anymore. You are just working for free. Like, I miss the whole interning thing. Interning when I was growing up was seen as an American thing that we Australians didn't do. It's only very recently that Australia has started to offer internships, or should I say, found a way not to pay workers. I think it's pretty predatory, actually. But whatever, I might be wrong here. You can call me old-fashioned. At the same time, like, I myself have volunteered for art events before, so maybe I'm part of the problem. By volunteering, I got to invigilate Ryoji Ikeda and Daniel Buren, and it was sick. But that's art that's not for sale, or at least it's for sale in a very different market to what I assume Brad here is talking about. In short, interning is shitty, but some exhibitions simply wouldn't happen without interns. So I think this one's kind of a wash. Interns being used to undercut what should be paid positions. Like, if you do that, you are really low. But I feel like this is not exclusive to our industry. Endemic maybe, but not exclusive. Artists should have the option to sell their work to the gallery up front. Okay, so This is the part where all the resentful artists just swoon. Brad's oversimplification makes it seem like they are being hard done by. If you are having a hard time getting shows, or worse, maybe, if you are selling work but not enough to live on, then of course you want to blame someone else. And a lot of the time, it might not even be your fault. The market is super fickle. You have to hit the right works with the right meaning at the right time. But let's stop and think about it, because I feel like any artist watching Brad's video is thinking, yeah, they should buy all my art, like buy up all my art up front, and that would be great. Well, okay. Let's say you are an emerging artist who, on average, you sell 25% of works in your show, and then maybe another 25% from the stockroom. And 50% just doesn't sell, or maybe it takes 5 years to sell, which is kind of the same thing if you're running year on year. So in this hypothetical point in your career, you are only effectively selling half of your work. So if I have a gallery, I'll buy your show up front, sure thing, but I'm only going to pay you 50% of what you would get on consignment. Like, money isn't magically going to come from nowhere. If you are only selling half a show, then the entire show is only worth 50% of the room sheet price. But even worse, perhaps, like if I'm going to buy the whole show, I know that I'm going to have to store half the show indefinitely. Like, storage isn't free. Galleries pay they pay rent, they pay insurance premiums on anything in storage. Also, if the gallery buys the entire show up front, what if the artist wants to gift a work to a friend or swap a work with another artist? Like, do they have to then buy their own work back from their own gallery? What if they want to rework a painting? What's the artist's fee on ingesting that work back into the archive or stockroom? Like, what are you going to have to rewrite your insurance contract to include artwork that the gallery owns now, but the artist is borrowing to rework, to paint, essentially into a new work? Okay, so let's say we keep the current arrangement and the artist retains ownership of their work. They sell 25% of the show, they sell 25% of the works out of the stockroom over the next few months. Then if the artist wants to gift a work or trade it, no problem. It's their work. Take one back, rework it, put a new canvas on it, like make it into a new work. Cool. Come pick it up. Like, it's your work. This is how most retail spaces operate. I feel like this is really limiting definition. Don't you? Like, he's constantly reducing art to just another product. Like, maybe that's how Americans interface with their art, but Brad constantly reduces art to retail. Like, art by its very definition defies definition. So this is perhaps the most glaring and obvious failure of Brad here. Like, does he really consider all art to be sellable? Is that his definition of art? Because he's wrong. Not only is he wrong, like, he's incredibly cheap. Like, that's something the security guard would tell you about of work while you're trying to enjoy it. Like, did you know that's worth $2 million? Like, brainwashed their wholesalers into thinking they are part of the business. They are part of the business. Okay. There is no brainwashing going on. There is a system that has been established and refined over many decades because it works. Now, not to say I am not open to new ideas, but to ignore everything and claim you know better is just dumb. So the people who are actually shaking things up right now, like, there are artists today who sell work directly from their Instagram, for example. they get 100% of the profit, but they are essentially taking on a second job to do it. Like, wouldn't their time be better spent making art? There was a kind of a quote. I don't know if it has an owner, but there was a quote in art school that got thrown around. Any artwork can become a product, but not every product can become art. It's the artist's job to create art, and it's the gallery's job to sell art. I disagree. It's the gallery's job to exhibit art, but even an exhibition with no sales still has a lot of value to the artist's career and also to the gallery. And with that in mind, in my opinion, it is the gallery's primary role to exhibit the artist's work in its unadulterated form with full creative expression. If you have some anarchist artist who makes really popular ceramic fruit bowls or whatever Brad thinks artists make, but she wants to take a piss on the floor as complementary work, it is not the gallery's job to decide to buy or not buy that artwork and hence exclude it from the exhibition. Fundamentally, that would change the exhibition and the entire meaning of the show. Like we galleries, we will be there to mop things up, but the freedom of artistic expression must come before sales. That should be really obvious. Okay, why are artists paid according to a dealer's ability to sell? Why artists? Because not all art is sellable, and that's the key fallacy that's gnawing away on all of this, on all of his claims, right? He admits it himself in his little straw man argument later on. But if the gallery had to buy a show up front, they would only buy the works they know they can sell. They essentially become the primary market. And it's not even an issue of personal taste. Like, there may be more challenging works in a show that the world is not ready for. That's quite often the case. The artist knows it, the gallerist knows it, but if it was forced into a fiscal crux, like if the gallerist had to essentially gamble money on that one collector with the foresight walking through the door during that particular month, I'd say they would avoid the risk. They would simply avoid the risk. The artist has nothing to do with the sales process. Are you mad? You are dealing with handmade, one-of-a-kind, unique objects. We're not selling sausages here. Like, each artwork is as unique and individual as the individual buyers and collectors who seek it out. If it was hamburgers, as he delightfully reduces this to later on, then the case could be made that the artist has nothing to do with the sales process. Like, a burger is a burger is a burger. Okay, so something we agree on. Artists are responsible for 100% of the artwork they produce, but they don't have control over the sales. Right? It's weird because he just said it, but then ignores it. Artists are responsible for 100% of the artwork they produce. Like, Ender. Just because you assign to a gallery doesn't mean that you can suddenly demand the gallery purchase everything you produce. That's a different relationship, and that already has a name. It's called patronage, right? So a patron has the resources to buy every artwork you produce and then control the flow of your artwork back into the market, creating artificial scarcity and just as artificially inflating the price, which is arguably going to do more damage to your career. But, sorry, we are not talking about those nasty old galleries. Okay, so then he talks about finish lines. The finish line for the artist is the finish for the artist is the exhibition, not the sale. He does know that artworks have a life after the sale, right? So where is the finish line then? Like, why stop with the primary market? I feel like most of the money made with the truly successful artist is in the secondary market anyway. So if I was an artist with an offer of representation, I would actually be trying to sign contracts with my collectors for commission on secondary market sales. Like, that is a real thing that some artists do, but it does complicate any potential sales. And Brad said artists have nothing to do with sales, right? So which one is it? Okay, once the artwork has been selected to be in a show, firstly, artists select which artworks go into their show. It's their show. What kind of gallery decides which artworks go in a show? That would change the meaning of the show. If the gallery is doing that, then yeah, maybe they should be buying the work up front because they are already de facto primary market in a way. They are making decisions on behalf of collectors as to which works those collectors get to choose from. That's, in my opinion, wrong. That would inhibit artistic freedom. That is an intellectual manipulation of the market, a manipulation and changing of the art itself. If the dealer deems the work good enough to be in the gallery, then it should be good enough for the dealer to actually invest in it. Dealers and galleries already do invest in the work. Like, are you mad? They pay the rent, keep the lights on, hire photographers, cleaners, bar staff, pay for the alcohol, installation art handlers, insurance, import and export duty. Don't get me started on international art fairs. Like, if the artist wants to do all of that work, then great. Like, some artists hang their own show, and they should get the install fee for that, I guess. But it is not going to be such a princely sum as they will be getting from the sales of the show itself. That's all stuff as well that's paid up front. If the gallery doesn't sell any work, the artist doesn't pay. The artist doesn't pay for those. That's the galleries investing in the artist. If the market's flat, right? If there's a pandemic or whatever, say the artist isn't on the hook for those expenses. It's the gallery. So I would argue that galleries are already deeply invested in the artist. Are you insane? Okay. His next point was art handlers get paid. I think it's important to note here that art handlers are paid commensurate to their labour. The labour of a signwriter is the same whether they are painting grand opening sale or going out of business forever. Like, they are paid the same. And even if artists were paid for their physical labour and essentially paid as labour, and they were essentially paid as labourers at one point, you would lose out on the amount of time it actually took them to get to that point. I was talking about this with a friend the other day. Like, 99% of the role of the artist is not physically labouring anymore, right? It's not the 16th century. Like, making art is the easy part. Like, the real role of the artist is drinking coffee, like reading, keeping up with the news, like thinking, staring at the sky, right? Staring out of the window on the fucking bus is the role of the artist in 2020. Observing the world with your mind, like, how are you going to compensate an artist for that if you pay them by the hour for their labor? Like, every single artist on earth accepts the inherent risk involved in taking on those artistic behaviors. In return, they leave themselves open to being paid commensurate with that risk, which is huge. If an artist is successful in their coffee drinking, sky staring, deep thought thinking, they stand to make millions, because that is that dead set commensurate with the sacrifice and the contribution that they bring to humanity. Like maybe not even in their lifetime. Moving along. So that will make galleries more likely to exhibit easily sellable work, eliminating the chance for difficult artists to get exhibitions. They are not mutually exclusive. An artist might make difficult work and easily sellable work, but he's missed the point here, and I think that that's really key. For me, it comes down to who is the primary market. Is it the gallery or is it the buyer? If the gallery is the buyer, it's the gallery. Like the perfect gallery, in my opinion, will aim to get out of the way and not interfere with the creative process. And that is a luxury that not all galleries can afford to have, but by the same measure, they also can't really afford not to either. If you're compromised as a gallery in that way, you're only hurting yourself. Like a gallery can offer insight into the art market, perhaps, but even that's a dangerous game for artists to play. Like the artist is then painting to the gallery. Great book by Grayson Perry, by the way. If an artist knows too much about what is selling right now, then there is the potential for the artist to intellectually manipulate their artwork to make more money. But then their artwork will be locked into what is selling right now. But I also feel like it really is that simple. Like if I walk into a show, I don't want to be sold by the painting. I don't want the painting to be saying, I keep saying painting, but that's interchangeable with artwork, right? Like I'm just a painter, okay? As dumb as a painter. But if I can see a painting, let's say, that is trying really hard to sell itself to me, do I really want to hang that on my wall? Like even before I got into art, it was always much easier working via an agent than it was working direct with the client. And I feel like that's the same. Galleries shield their artists from all sorts of stuff. So like if an artist wants to liberate themselves from the gallery system, like more power to you, go for it. Like there is literally nothing stopping you. But I think that's why Brad just comes across as if he's complaining. You don't like galleries? Like start your own then. Like buy all the shows up front. I can't wait. There's nothing stopping you do. Okay, selling pretty nonsense is what galleries are already doing. Are they? Which galleries are these, Brad? I want names. Okay. But he goes on to complain even further. Culturally irrelevant wasteland, thoughtless abstractions, take a walk through Chelsea. Well, I did take a walk through Chelsea, and I would not say that all the galleries I saw were risk averse. I saw a lot of really great art. In fact, I would say that opening an art gallery is probably one of the most risky things you can do. But if you think they're already risk averse, like once again, which galleries are you talking about, Brad? Like, I want names. Okay, so he's saying still exploiting artists. At the end of the day, artists are not being exploited. There is never any moment in an artist's career where the gallery is not 100% transparent about the relationship. Like, we don't hide costs, etc. Like we don't hide costs. Like, we hope that working together we can grow, etc. But that's not always going to happen. At the end of the day, an artist is never going to be an ordinary employee. Like, money doesn't come from nowhere. If an artist wanted a stable income, I'm sure a gallery could provide that. But they are not going to somehow magically get more money out than their art brings in. And even worse, if they are on a salary and their career really starts to take off, what then? Do they miss out on the profits? Like, that sounds even more predatory than than Brad selling his Patreon here. Like, at the end of the day, selling on consignment and artists getting paid commission makes things transparent. And, like, believe me, I've been on both sides. If I, Oliver Lardner, the artist, start if I, Oliver Lardner, start demanding a different arrangement from my galleries, like, pay close attention. But until then, I, Oliver Lardner, the gallery manager, can assure you running a gallery on 40% commission is hard work. No one is being hard done by. Okay. Galleries only exhibit artwork which they believe they will sell. Ultimately, Brad is an American, and he might be Canadian. I think ultimately Brad is an American and commenting on the, some may say, cynical American market. But what ultimately gives me the shits enough to make a video about it is he is deliberately misleading artists who desperately want to believe that they are being hard done by, and directing them to his Patreon for some kind of salvation. Like, art is a hard game, and it's one of those professions like photography or design where most people grossly underestimate the amount of work involved in achieving success. You know, my child could have done that. Like, that's all you need to know. That's all you need to know about what most people think of art. But when you dig deeper, you realize that it's actually a slog. And I think that artists have egos to begin with, like I sure did. You have to. You have to at least have some ego to believe that your work deserves to be hanging on a wall. Like, I think there's a lot of confused, resentful, bitter artists out there who haven't found the success or recognition that they thought they deserved. And I guess Brad Troemel here has turned that group of people into a niche market of his own. Like, he is literally making money from struggling artists by telling them what they want to hear. like I could do that for free if you like. You deserve greatness. Every painting you do is wonderful. Don't ever doubt yourself. You're on the right path. Your gallery is screwing you up. And he's here calling galleries out on predatory behavior. And, like, that's the point I think I'll leave this on. Like, even if you don't sell, galleries are already heavily invested in you as an artist. And having a gallery is definitely worth the 40% cut, sometimes 50% cut, depending on the gallery. If it was this, make-believe land that Brad is talking about, then why don't you see artists running their own gallery and making, squillions of dollars? You don't get access to infrastructure that would cost much more of your own time and energy if you were trying to replicate it on your own. And time is incredibly valuable, like probably the most precious thing an artist has. So once again, don't shoot the messenger. Support artistic freedom. Keep making whatever art you want to make. Don't buy into charlatans like Brad Troemel. And if you do, don't give them any money on Patreon. or do. I don't mind. Like, if you really think that Brad has all the answers, if you think that demanding a gallery pay you up front for your entire show is going to help you as an artist, or don't even bother, because if you are that obsessed with making money, then I have a pretty good idea why your art isn't selling. Or you could just talk to a gallery, like talk to an artist, talk to someone who isn't trying to sell you on something, or sell you something on Patreon. We all have time, and I guarantee you we will give you a better advice for free. Brad, shame on you.
Come on this field, it's by my toes. It pulls up electric wavy when I'm flirting load. Up through my speed, up through my robe. We flying out those feelings when we in our zone. Come on and come on, right. Right.